So it's review time, and it's the Cobra AeroJet Drivers we're going to take a look at in this video. Obviously going to provide you with my personal feedback, some data, but then stay tuned because towards the end of the video we're going to compare it up against last year's LTDx to see if the new one is better than the old one. So we have three different heads in the AeroJet lineup. So we've got the standard AeroJet with that central weight at the back of the golf club. We then have a Max which has the weight at the back, but then also one in the heel you can switch around a little bit more, higher MOI, a little bit more of a draw bias sort of golf club. And then finally we've got the LS, which stands for low spin. So then two weights are now moved forward towards a club face, encouraging that more low spin characteristics. So I just wanted to interrupt the video and ask for your help. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed to my channel and you're enjoying the videos I'm putting out there, there's going to be plenty more coming your way, then please consider hitting that subscribe button. And while you're there, just ring the bell and you will not miss a video going forward. So I'm going to start off hitting some shots with the LS, the low spin version, to kick things off, and then we'll move into the standard one, then compare it up against last year's LTDx golf club to see if there's a bit of a change in performance. Okay, that was a nice opening shot, just peeling a tiny bit up that right side. I might just miss that bunker, might even just carry it in fact. So decent launch there and a pretty low spin, so 1900 on that spin. We're going to expect to maybe see this with the LS version. So say it's two weights in there. We've got a 12 gram weight and then a 3 gram weight. As standard, the 12 will sit in the heel, but obviously you can switch those around. So if you want to make that a little bit more fade bias, then obviously you can put that 12 gram into the toe or other way around to make it a little bit more into the sort of heel area to maybe get a little bit more of that sort of potential, that right to left sort of shape. Now the looks down by the golf ball, I think this looks really quite classy actually from Cobra. So it sits incredibly square as you'd expect from an LS driver. Loads of carbon on the top with a gloss finish, looks nice. That matte black sort of front section there, lip, then going into the club face, looks sort of black and again matte. It looks very sort of classy. Turn the club over and look at the bottom of the club. It's a little bit cleaner for a Cobra driver. Sometimes it's always a bit loud, some real big colours in there. Again, loads of carbon on that back of the sole, as well as a little bit in that front just behind this power bridge. And this is the bit of technology that Cobra are bringing into these, all three models of the head, is this power bridge. This is sort of like a weighted, suspended system that connects the heel and the toe. So a little bit like we see in Callaway with that jailbreak technology supporting the crown and the sole. This supports the heel and toe, gets that energy, creating ball speed. But yeah, impressive look behind the golf ball, big fan of that. That's a super flight. Cut that a little bit higher up in the face. That has actually launched a little bit higher. You see 13 degrees launch, didn't absolutely flush that, a little bit higher in the strike. Look at those two balls sat right next to each other. Consistency. Oh, and again, I'll tell you what, that's a very good crack to that. Super sound. It's that carbon sound as we're going to expect with loads of carbon in the head, but it's a very positive sort of crack, solid sort of feel to that. And I'll be taking all three of those shots on the golf course. Yeah, that's a super flight. A little bit of left to right on that one. That's just clattered the 300 marker at the end of the range there. Okay, so obviously the big talking point, as per the name, AeroJet, is aerodynamics, and that's a real big talking point with all three of these models. Now with the LS, it's more aggressive than the other two models. So when I say aggressive, this back edge of the driver sort of rises up much more aggressive than the other two, so like a higher skirt at the end of the golf club, trying to move that club a little bit quicker. You've got to see marginal gains there. I can't see you jumping 2-3 mile an hour club head speed just because of that sort of technology. It's going to be marginal gains on club head speed, but it's there. You might gain a little bit. Okay, so just before moving into the standard AeroJet, let's just have a quick look at the data. Just those 4 shots I've hit there. Obviously the big thing there with the LS is providing low spin. We see that averaging 1876. Probably one thing I've just got to say there, if you miss your strikes, you're probably going to be a little bit more punished with the LS with that low spin and those weights for than you will do with obviously the weight back in the standard one or even the Max version. Right, so switching now into the standard AeroJet. So we see that 12 gram weight now is positioned right at the back of the golf club in the center. So obviously pulling that weight further back typically will promote a little bit of a higher launch, maybe a little bit more spin on that compared to that LS, but basically being a little bit more forgiving on those slight miss hits. Now, looks to be a slightly bigger footprint from that front to back, as you're probably going to expect with trying to shove that weight further back. Unfortunately, I haven't got the Max here out with me at the moment. I will do a video when I do get that, but I'm guessing that will probably sit a little bit more towed in as that becomes a little bit more of a draw biased golf club. But obviously we do have that adjustable neck sleeve with Cobra, as we've seen with many generations now. So I'm going to move this down to 9 degrees. So minus 1.5 on the neck sleeve, get that into that little window, playing this now at 9 degrees. Now just sits a little bit open in that club face to my eye. So again, you can utilize that neck sleeve if you want to look at a certain face angle, maybe try and take a certain side of the golf course out in your game. You have got those options to do that. So 9 degree, again, nice looking shape, gloss top, matte black finish on the face. Okay, and that was a touch, well, it felt a touch lower in the club face. Good straight ball flight though. It was interesting to see what happens at spin. Oh, that's not as high. I was expecting that to be high 2000s, touching 3000. That's slightly low strike. So with this standard Aero Max now, we see quite a large footprint. It looks to be a little bit longer from that face to the back of the golf club. Obviously trying to pull that weight far back, help that MOI and create that slightly higher launch. It's a good footprint down by the golf ball. It still looks good though. You've got the gloss carbon on the top, black face. It does look very nice, to be honest. Good strike. A little bit of left to right on there, maybe that little bit of opening the face, encouraging that. And quite a decent low spin. So, you know, we saw obviously some low spin with the LS, as you expect. How much more spin are we going to get this? But that's quite low. And maybe just a slightly different sound. Maybe as that weight's changing, the head size is just changing a little bit. Just sounds a tiny bit louder than the LS. Feels a little bit more like the balls on the face a little bit longer. Not quite as hard a feel as the LS, but still, it's a good feel. It's a good sound to it. Still a bit of that carbon sound, as you expect, because there's tons of carbon in this. More and more each year is getting added. Okay, and that one's a touch higher in the face. It looks to be launched a little bit higher. Obviously, my strikes up and down, this will be the same for you guys. Your strikes up and down will change that launch angle. High flight, you see that high strike, should I say, gets that little bit drop of ball speed there. Higher on the launch, but then lower on the spin because of the strike. But really, that's probably where these drivers come into it. You know, if I had that strike with that LS, I would say that spin's probably dropping 1400, 1500, and it'll be a real sort of dipper out of the sky. So with that weight back, this is the whole point, and the idea of this is you move your strike, which we're all going to do, it helps with that forgiveness. So it pops it up, controls it, obviously takes some spin off it, but it's one of those that you'll take it all day long on the golf course. So that's maybe you've got to look at your misses, and that's sometimes where you might go into an LS or into a standard one, depending on your strike location and your miss. Again, another good reason to go measure something like that on a Trackman or a quad. And that's a good strike. That's a higher ball flight. Looks to be staying in the air. Quite a bit of hang time on that one, good launch. 12 area, 2 on spin. Yeah, decent sorts of numbers. So the thing that's quite interesting here, what Cobra have done, is they've gone away from that CNC milled face, which is something they really shout at the rooftops about, a consistency of that club face across the entire, again, helping ball speed, everything like that. That's gone now. And Cobra's saying they don't really need that now because they've got a new face, which is this hot face. So when we've heard this before with 15 different sweet spots across the entire club face, again, it's all about miss hits, isn't it, and getting that ball speed up. And they have got this PowerShell L cup technology is what they call it. So that face, as it runs down and goes under, it lips underneath into the sole a little bit. So that, I'm guessing, is helping those low strikes and the club face, again, maintain a bit of that ball speed. Okay, we're going to hit one more shot, then we're going to get the LTDx in our hands, and then we're going to see a comparison to see if new is better than old. And again, it's a little bit high toe. It's flown absolutely straight. Maybe that back weight there and that forgiveness just helping me out a little bit on that shot. And that'll be one that go, yep, everybody go, great shot there. And you go, oh, I'm not really hit that great, but you'll take it every single day of the week. Right, so switch the exact same shaft into the LTDx head. So that, obviously this is last year's version. To keep the comparison exactly the same, I've gone for a 10.5 head, lofted this down to 9 degrees, so it should be doing something similar with that club face. The weight at the back is 10 grams, we saw 12 in the AeroJet, so I'm guessing that extra bit of carbon in there that is saving some weight, that'll allow them to put that extra 2 grams in the back of the head. Obviously this is a different look, it's a matte top finish, a little bit of carbon showing through. So let's hit 5 shots with this, we'll see if this can beat it, or maybe not. And that was a nice opener, good strike, solid. That's gone exactly the same distance as the others up to now. Oh, that's a great shot. It's a great strike, great flight. Very similar flight to what we've just seen with that AeroJet, to be fair, which with a similar sort of connection. You know, if I'm going to choose a winner between the two in terms of the look and the feel, I think the looks, for me, definitely the AeroJet. I just love that carbon really showing through. The gloss just gives it a little bit of a classier sort of look to it. In terms of the feel, and I did say this in the review when I did the LTD, it felt a little bit harder off the club face. And I'd probably say the standard AeroJet doesn't feel quite as harsh off the face. A little bit of a slightly more carbon sound. As you're probably going to expect, there's a little bit more carbon in it than we see in the LTDx. Oh, that's a nice one to finish up on there. Nice flight again. Okay, so let's go and check some numbers out and see how the old one stacks up against the new one. Okay, so let's check those numbers out in a little bit more detail. And just to start off with, maybe interesting how the LS is 111.5, that's 110.9. Hardly anything in it, but a smidge quicker the LS. Is that because that LS has got that more aggressive aerodynamics in it? Possibly. It could be obviously me as well. But then looking at AeroJet against LTDx, you can see it's 0.7 of a mile an hour quicker. Again, that could flip the other way around. I appreciate that, but maybe that little bit of aerodynamics could be doing a job. Ball speed wise, you can see actually the LTDx was a smidge quicker, even though with that little bit less. Club head speed. Launch, pretty similar. Spin, very, very similar and quite low there, to be honest. Distance-wise, 268 with the LTDx, 271 with the AeroJet. Okay, so as you can expect, it's pretty close between those two clubs. The looks of the AeroJet just wins it for me, though. Post your comments down below. Love to hear your thoughts, and hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.